Thank you very much. So, obviously there's a few people I've seen here before. In fact, a little bit of reminiscing, somebody who I dealt with when I was a traffic examiner many, many years ago. And people who were working in what used to be the DVSA, so the VOSA and VI days. So hello Dave, hello Simon. Oh, the driver's mate. Oh, you really need to take notice of that. You would be surprised how much the driver's mate features in all of our interactions with people who have done something wrong. It is amazing that we actually need any solicitors because the driver's mate seems to know absolutely everything you ever need to know. Unfortunately, not accurately, but the principles of enforcement. So we are not just here to fine people, to take them to court or to take them to the traffic commissioner. We have 3 guiding principles: enable, prevent, respond. So enable, this is part of enable. We provide advice and guidance. We want to help people to get things right. We want to help people understand rather than the driver's mate. So we want to be someone who you can turn to if you need that advice and guidance. We will prevent. We will do road checks. We will be checking. We'll do the fleet compliance checks, which checks the state of compliance of the fleet on the road. We will continue to do that. And where it is appropriate, we will respond. We will use intelligence, we will use data, and we will take the strongest action for the worst non-compliance we see. The title of this presentation was Making Every Journey Safer. These things are really, really important. They are literally a matter of life and death. If you get things wrong, it is catastrophic. And I don't know if you've seen it, there was a fabulous documentary released by Durham Police about a driver. It's done from the driver's point of view. I will send the link to Carolyn and then she can always send it out if you like. It's a driver's viewpoint. It's always worth sharing with your drivers. It's what happened when a driver was not concentrating, killed people, ended up in prison. It is literally a matter of life and death. So, have you heard about earned recognition? A little poll on your phones. So, yes, you're a member. Yes, but you've not joined. You've heard of it, but don't really know what it is, or no, you've not heard of it. If you all vote now, please. Do I press the clicker to get the result? Oh, it comes up. There you are. Oh, we've got members here. Yes, not joined. Some people haven't heard of it, but some don't really know what it is. Well, we will start with earned recognition. So this is a little bit about the culture of your operation. So across the top, Carolyn mentioned your compliance culture. So what is the culture? So from the left, the exemplar, compliant, compliant with support. Potential rule breakers, non-compliant, then the serious and serially. Then across here, we've got all the different kinds of interventions we use to deal with those different people. And you will see right on the left-hand side, I was going to say right, and on your left-hand side, earned recognition. These are the exemplar operators. So, helping you stay safe on Britain's roads. There are some little books at the back, so please do take one. Oops. So, what is it? It is open to a business of any size. We have one-man bands in there, we have some of the biggest companies. We currently have about 10% of the fleet in earned recognition, heavy goods vehicles and PSV vehicles. It is about your standards. It is showing that you have a good compliance culture. It is not something where, oh gosh, well, if we make a mistake, they're going to kick us out, they'll see our records, they'll be taking us to court. It's not like that. We know if you work in transport, things will go wrong. But we know from our earned recognition operators that they have good systems in place. So if the rogue driver does something, they will identify it, they will deal with it. If something goes wrong, they will deal with it because they have systems that identify it. They don't have to wait till we come round and say, this happened, you've got a problem. So we recognise things will go wrong, but we trust people to put them right. This is the most exciting news we've had for a long time. So, since we started earned recognition, we have wanted for it to be recognised as an alternative to FORS. We know a lot of people have told us we have to have FORS. Well, on Monday, at about 1:30, we got agreement that TfL will recognise earned recognition as an alternative to FORS. By the way, earned recognition is a DVSA scheme. It is free to join. You have to have the systems, you have to report your KPIs. It is not a commercial scheme. It is not something that you have to buy into. You can already have it for HS1 and the LP project. It is also recognised by clocks. We've also had different industries approach us to say, can we work with you to have special modules on your earned recognition? So the aggregates industry, British Guild of Coach Operators. So 100% of our operators in earned recognition are in favour, with 91 saying it is very good. And we're working with the councils, we're working with the mayors, we're looking to see where we can use it as a contracting standard for people. Why would you not want to contract with the people that you know are safest? Why wouldn't you want to contract with the people that you know have a culture of compliance? If you've got children, they go to school, don't you want to know that the school buses are the safe buses, not the cheapest? So why would they not use this? Unlike FORS, oops, sorry, that was a sorry, I won't say it again. You have to report KPIs. It is an ongoing monitoring. So we work with people and we have KPIs to remain in the scheme. So it is an ongoing measure of compliance, which is why it's so important for people like councils, for people who are letting contracts, because it is a compliant operator that they know they'll be contracting with. So back to this bit. We've done the left. So why have we brought in earned recognition? We are civil servants. You can boo if you like. It's not like they make out in the paper, I can assure you. We need to free up our resource to deal with the really bad people. We can't just go and get loads more examiners because there's more people on the road that we're identifying breaking the rules. Earned recognition is very light on resource. So 10% of the fleet, it is less than 1% of our enforcement workforce. That means 99% of our enforcement workforce can concentrate on the rest, proportionally for the little vertical arrows. So, another little quiz, phones at the ready. Which areas of compliance do you think we should provide more guidance for? Driver's hours, roadworthiness, or operator licensing compliance? have like a little countdown clock, shouldn't we?
Bottom right.
Oh.
It's really small, yeah.
Ah, oh, when Richard gets here later, he'll be delighted. You might need to mention. It is really important. When Carolyn was talking earlier, it reminded me of an operator that I did go and see, not the one that's here, I hasten to add, when I was a TE. And I said about, you can't let your driver do that. And he said, make me. We were just trying to be helpful and say you need to change it. The driver didn't want to change. The operator, it's going to be really difficult because he doesn't want to do it. And that's going to mean my load won't get out. It's very unfortunate that a few weeks later he didn't have an operator's license because they didn't deal with it. So operator licensing is so important. I saw there was a question about dealing with transport managers, and both Carolyn and Catherine mentioned it earlier. We know it's difficult to have those conversations. It's even more difficult to run your business if you don't have an operator's license. And every single driver you have takes your operator's license out with them when they go. So second one, which DVSA activity do you think give greater deterrent? So visible road checks as being out there 24/7, ANPR and remote enforcement activity, or operator visits? Oh, that's it. So most people, seeing people out on the side of the road. So what happens after the visible road check? Well, today we are printing operator prohibition rates. We are printing all of the prohibitions that we have issued, all of the defects and offences. So our public data to provide a greater deterrent, we are working on it, and that is going to be public as we go forward. So every year we're going to be publishing it. So then it's not just you that will have your information. If somebody was looking to contract for somebody, they would actually be able to see whether or not people are picking up prohibitions, have got defects. Again, are they compliant? So the people at the right-hand side, the serious and serially non-compliant, the people who really do not want to do anything. So this was a joint operation with the Environment Agency, Lancashire Police. So completely illegal skip operation. On the left-hand side, that is what was left of his skips after they were impounded and crushed. They'd also dumped waste. When we impound vehicles, you don't get them back. It's not like the police impounding a car for no insurance. You go and buy your insurance and pay for the cost, and then you go and drive your car away. When we take your vehicle, you can appeal to the Traffic Commissioner. They have very limited grounds they can give it back on, and then it's gone. So it is a really significant activity. Mobile equipment trials. So Carolyn mentioned the transformation at the end of my name. This is where we are really doing things differently. So we know a lot of the really bad guys actually plan and schedule their routes to avoid our check sites. We have now bought a mobile inspection facility. Bottom left-hand side, you can see it's a container, comes on the back of a lorry. We can have a fully calibrated check site anywhere we like. So if people are trying to avoid us, we can take our check site to them. We also have UVI under vehicle inspection. The vehicle drives over it. You can see everything underneath the vehicle. So even if it's difficult, so particularly if you think of the vans or PSVs where they've got the sides, you can't get under the vehicle at the side of the road, well, we can actually see everything. And then the remote tachograph sensing. This is the one that has perhaps engendered the most interest since we've started trialling this. So, second generation smart tachographs. So, since 2019, we can read them as you're driving by. We don't have it set up for everything yet, but we are starting to. So we're using it as a potential targeting tool. So using it in different locations, pulling vehicles in that it identifies. We are working towards how else we can use it. These are new pieces of kit that we're looking at to see how we can more efficiently and effectively target more of the people on the right, the people who really are a road safety risk. Historically, we've always waited till kit was out there, tried and tested, everybody knew what it was. All of those pieces of kit, the mobile inspection unit was bespoke for us. These pieces of kit, the first time they've been used for enforcement in this country. So it's really at the front of what we can do. We are also looking at other things. We know emissions is a really big thing now. We know that a coroner actually blamed the emissions for the death of a little girl. So it's actually become a real health and safety issue about the emissions. So it's very high on the government agenda. So how can we identify them? Test purchasing for people who are having their vehicles either manipulated so they don't have to put in the AdBlue or to go too fast. So much of it relies on ANPR. We are also doing work on ANPR avoidance. So if you are tempted to buy the films or even the little magnetic leaves that you drop off at the push of a button, I think they're about $18.99 on Amazon. We are onto them. Please don't look interested, Simon. That was really inappropriate at that point. We are working to actually be able to deal with those people as well. We know there are people who put film over their number plates. Being prosecuted for misrepresentation of a number plate actually becomes quite serious. We have access to over 11,000 ANPR cameras, so it is significant. This is just one example. So when I pulled the presentation together, I just used a couple of examples from the last couple of weeks. This was in the courts. So 4 drivers created 15 false records. In total, £17,500 worth of fines. Historically, if we saw somebody and we thought the driver was at it, getting the evidence of where they'd been was quite complicated. When you've got 11,000 ANPR cameras that cover all the roads in the country, it's a lot easier that when the tachograph said they were on rest, that we've got them driving in different places. So it's much more difficult to avoid us, despite what the driver's mate will tell you. We're also looking at how we can use them for other things. So HGVs out of test. So we have looked over a 3-month period at how many HGVs on the road we could find out of test. To make sure we were being robust, we made sure they were out of test for at least 2 months. And we made sure we had at least 20 hits on different ANPR cameras. There had to be a minimum of 3 ANPR cameras and more than 20 hits in total. So it wasn't somebody who was going to and from the maintenance provider, someone who was test driving a vehicle and every time someone took it out, it hit. We were quite robust to make sure the vehicles that we spot were genuinely being used out of test. Any guesses? Over 5,500. They are your competitors. They are the people who are cheating and cutting their costs, so doing you out of contracts. So we are looking at how we deal with those. And it's not just the MOT out of test. So this is another example from last week. A coach company. This started as somebody who was using vehicles out of test. We then went and did the full investigation. Their licence will be revoked from December. The reason the Traffic Commissioner allowed it to run until then was because of school contracts, and there was nobody else who could pick up the school contract run. It is serious. It is not just shaving a few pounds off your maintenance bill.
How can they allow them to still run, put children in a coach?
Maybe that's one to ask the Traffic Commissioner. I totally agree. I absolutely agree with you. I believe there are some very robust undertakings put on about having the vehicles checked, but I am absolutely with you on this one. He's not here yet, but I agree. All I can say is traffic commissioners are independent and they make their decisions accordingly. Maybe if you're in Merthyr Tydfil. No, I was going to say, and your children go to school on one of these coaches, you might want to think. But there are undertakings put on it. But this started as vehicles identified without MOT. So it really does matter. Thank you for your time. Any questions?